Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. A judge denied a former medical executive's plea to delay her prison sentence. Not only that, she is fined a multi-million-dollar restitution fee. Unemployment benefits for illegal immigrants in California. That's what one state senator is proposing through a new bill. Big cities across the state are asking for more funding to address their stark homeless population. But this comes as the state faces a budget deficit. First, it looks like former Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes may soon be bound for prison. An appeals court recently rejected her bid to remain free while she tries to overturn her conviction. Her case involves a blood testing hoax that brought her brief fame and fortune.
In another ruling issued late Tuesday, U.S. District Judge Edward Davila ordered Elizabeth Holmes to pay $452 million in restitution to the victims of her crimes. Holmes is being held jointly liable for that amount with her former lover and top Theranos lieutenant, Ramesh or Sunny Belwani. He is currently in prison after being convicted on a broader range of felonies in a separate trial. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision on Holmes' attempt to avoid prison comes nearly 3 weeks after she deployed a last-minute legal maneuver to delay the start of her 11-year sentence. Davila, who sentenced her in November, previously ordered her to surrender to authorities on April 27th. Davila will now set a new date for the 39-year-old to leave her current home in the San Diego area and report to prison. The punishment will separate Holmes from her current partner, William or Billy Evans, their 1-year-old son William, and 3-month-old daughter Invicta. Holmes' pregnancy with Invicta, Latin for invincible or undefeated, began after a jury convicted her on 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy in January 2022. Holmes had previously tried to use her pregnancy to delay serving her prison sentence. Davila has recommended that Holmes serve her sentence at a women's prison in Bryan, Texas, but there's neither confirmation nor information about her moving to another facility. Eileen Ng, NTD News, Santa Clara, California.
All eyes are on the southern border with the expiration of Title 42. U.S.-Mexico border towns are struggling with waves of migrants looking to enter the country through states like California. So now a state senator wants to extend unemployment benefits to all unemployed workers, including illegal immigrants. Democratic State Senator Maria Durazo introduced SB 227, dubbed as Safety Net for All Workers Act. The bill would grant unemployed illegal immigrants up to $300 per week for a maximum of 20 weeks. The Los Angeles Board of Supervisors unanimously passed a resolution in March that supports the proposal. This comes as Governor Newsom warned that his state could break from a surge of migrants after the expiration of Title 42, and the state's budget deficit has grown to nearly $32 billion. But according to a press release, the funding for the unemployment benefits will come out of what those undocumented workers put in. Senator Durazo says, today, taxes on the wages of undocumented workers contribute an estimated $485 million annually to the unemployment insurance system, even though those workers do not see a cent of the benefits. According to a recent study, an estimated 2 million undocumented workers in California have been excluded from unemployment benefits. 78% of undocumented immigrant workers in California works in jobs deemed essential and critical to California's economy. SB 227 is set for hearing at the state Senate on March 18th. Speaking of the border crisis, people are illegally crossing the border in record numbers. In Southern California, Border Patrol agents reportedly arrested an Afghan migrant on the FBI terror watch list who was attempting to cross.
An unnamed Afghan on the FBI's terror watch list was reportedly arrested by the U.S. Border Patrol on May 10th. The man was a part of another group that was attempting to enter the country near Otay Mesa. According to a May 14th press release, San Diego Supervisor Jim Desmond says that the country's approach to border protection has, quote, allowed fentanyl to pour into the country, asylum seekers to be human trafficked, and terrorists to attempt entry. Additionally, Republican Representative Darrell Issa reports that his attempt to confirm the news of the arrest was met with denials from the Biden administration. And according to CBS 8, a source with knowledge of the situation who requested anonymity said the FBI classified the arrest. The identity of the suspected terrorist remains unknown. The arrest came just days after news outlets reported a leaked email showing the Border Patrol had released a record number of illegal immigrants into the United States. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
California's governor recently announced a $3.7 billion investment for the homeless, with a looming budget deficit of $32 billion. On Wednesday, mayors from the state's most populous cities are asking for additional resources.
As you can see, this is a homeless site in Silicon Valley. Now, earlier today, 13 mayors, including the mayor of San Jose, went to the Capitol building to ask for increased and consistent funding to address the homelessness crisis. The mayors also talked about reformed conservatorship, mental health, and more funding for Project Home Key, which converts buildings and hotels into homeless housing. The mayors are part of a bipartisan coalition of California's 13 most populous cities called Big City Mayors, chaired by San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria.
And that's why we're here today, to call on the state to increase HAP funding to $2 billion a year and to make this funding permanent to address California's biggest humanitarian crisis.
Governor Gavin Newsom is currently budgeting $1 billion for HAP, the Homeless Assistance and Prevention Program. According to the coalition, with state funding, the cities increased shelter beds by 15,000 and served more than 120,000 people. Through Home Key, they created 5,101 homes.
We need to keep the momentum going, and $2 billion on an annual ongoing basis for HAP and an additional $1.5 billion for Home Key will help us do just that.
Since 2019, the state of California has invested over $17 billion to aid local governments in addressing homelessness.
Mental health, housing, drug rehab. These issues are not easy, but if you don't start somewhere, you're not going to know where you're at.
While thousands of individuals have been helped, many are still in a state of suffering. NTD heard from locals on their thoughts.
I think they should use it wisely, invest it on the people, on case managers, social services, everything that they're doing now, but better. You can't cut corners on anything. It should be clean business, no corruption. Absolutely no corruption.
California's budget deficit has grown to nearly $32 billion. Newsom announced on Friday, saying the state's challenges are partly due to high inflation and a decision to let most people delay filing taxes because of the series of winter storms. In San Jose, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
While cities are asking for more funding amid a budget deficit, the state is also defaulting on debt. California borrowed billions of dollars from the federal government to cover unemployment benefits during the pandemic. But the governor decided not to pay it back, so now the burden falls on business owners.
During the pandemic, the state of California borrowed about $20 billion from the federal government to cover unemployment benefits. In the proposed 2023 through 2024 budget, $750 million was allocated to start paying down the loans. But in January, Governor Gavin Newsom decided not to pay it back and withdraw the funding. Mark Jaffe, a policy analyst at the Cato Institute in Washington, D.C., told the Epoch Times the state should have taken care of the loans with the COVID money it received from the government in 2021. The decision leaves businesses in the state responsible for the loans as mandated by federal regulations. So starting this year, the federal unemployment tax rate of 0.6% will increase by 0.3% annually until the loan is extinguished. Jaffe says California is just not really an employer-friendly state. This one thing will not be a difference between a business remaining open or closing, but it's just another burden on top of the many burdens the state puts on employers. During the pandemic, 22 states borrowed money for unemployment insurance, and all but California, Colorado, Connecticut, and New York have paid it back. According to U.S. Treasury Department data, California owes the most by far, with approximately $18.6 billion outstanding as of May 2nd.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. A state agency wants to look into what they're calling residential racial segregation. They're calling on the state to impose race-based housing policies. Lyft is the latest company to cut back on their San Francisco-based operations. The company announced hundreds of layoffs and the closure of a driver center. And California often prides itself on pushing for environmental-friendly practices. But a new report revealed that the state has been dumping its toxic waste into neighboring states. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Zhang. A state agency is planning to impose housing policies based on race. It would require the state to look over local residential land use to address, quote, residential racial segregation.
The California Reparations Task Force is proposing to require the state legislature to review and approve all residential land use ordinances in, quote, segregated cities and counties. The purpose is to address, quote, residential racial segregation. It plans to accomplish this with 12 proposals, which include collecting data on housing discrimination, providing financial assistance for home ownership to African Americans, and increasing affordable housing for African Americans. One of the most controversial proposals is requiring the state to review local land use decisions and determine if the ordinances would maintain or worsen segregation. It would also repeal crime-free housing policies. This means it would require landlords to allow renting to individuals with a criminal history, which includes drug-related activities and a previous arrest that did not result in a conviction. The task force approved the measures last weekend. If Governor Gavin Newsom signs it into law, the proposals would be enacted. However, there are already areas across the state that have been pushing back against similar housing mandates. Previously, the state filed a lawsuit against Huntington Beach for violating housing laws. But the seaside city doesn't want it to be urbanized and wants to maintain its current lifestyle.
Another company joins the list of businesses leaving San Francisco. Rideshare service Lyft has laid off hundreds of employees and closed its SF driver center over safety and concerns of economic decline.
Ride-sharing service Lyft laid off 383 employees at its headquarters and closed its San Francisco driver center on May 10th. This move follows Nordstrom, Whole Foods, Walgreens, Amazon Go, and Anthropologie, as Lyft is the latest company to announce a closure in the city. These companies cite concerns over skyrocketing crime paired with economic decline in SF. Given the ongoing layoffs across different sectors and companies, California workers can prepare themselves by checking out planned layoffs and major closure notices in their industries from an online list called the Worker Adjustment and Retaining Notification, or WARN list. It's published by the California Employment Development Department and is updated every Tuesday and Thursday each week. It provides a 60-day advance notice for planned layoffs within the state. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, as of March, California's unemployment rate sits at 4.4%, which is slightly higher than the national unemployment rate of 3.5%.
Besides Lyft, recent layoffs and major closures for California include Dropbox, Beverly Hospitals in Montebello, CJ Logistics America, and Jenny Craig USA. California is known as an economic-friendly state that prides itself on being at the forefront of environmental-friendly industry practices. However, new public information has revealed that the Golden State has been dumping tons of its toxic waste into neighboring states.
Recent data from the California Department of Toxic Substances Control, or DTSC, revealed that the state has dumped nearly half of its hazardous waste out of state since 2010. In the past 13 years, the state has dumped 3.7 million tons of hazardous waste in Utah, 2.9 million tons in Arizona, and 2.3 million tons in Nevada. 13 more states have also received toxic waste, but in much lower quantities. An investigation published by CalMatters in January shows the DTSC as the biggest contributor to out-of-state toxic waste dumping. The findings conclude that neighboring states do not have as many environmental regulations for dumping hazardous waste, and the cost is significantly lower. Jane Williams, executive director for California Community Against Toxins, told the Epoch Times, quote, "This is not something new. This has been going on for as long as California has become industrialized." California's exported toxic trash has also stirred some opposition among communities in neighboring states who have begun to push back and speak out with concerns. Many experts say a law that passed 2 years ago, Senate Bill 158, increased the cost to dump hazardous waste in California and is a contributing factor to its use of out-of-state landfills. A 5-member board of environmental safety was also established at the state's Department of Toxic Substances Control to regulate the waste and clean up toxic sites.
In Los Angeles County's South Bay, guns, illegal narcotics, and many suspects are now in custody following a lengthy multi-agency investigation. Christina Corona has more from Los Angeles.
On Wednesday, LAPD officers and FBI agents conducted a series of searches across LA's South Bay. As a result of their months-long investigation, a dozen suspected members and associates of Los Angeles Harbor area street gangs were taken into custody on a variety of charges. We spoke with Tom Rozek, spokesman for the United States Attorney's Office, who told us how these arrests make the community safer.
And we have managed to take a number of leaders of these gangs off the street, in addition to a very large quantity of narcotics and illegal firearms.
Authorities tell us a total of 23 firearms were seized, along with 57.7 pounds of methamphetamine, nearly 23,000 fentanyl pills, 5.2 pounds of powdered fentanyl, and 2.2 pounds of cocaine. FBI officials tell us the investigation expanded beyond the local gang into the upper echelons of the Mexican mafia, and making those arrests was a massive undertaking.
We used undercover operatives. We had informants and undercover law enforcement officers working on the streets and communicating with people in prison to arrange narcotics and weapons purchases.
Today, local and federal officials working together have made significant progress in reducing gang violence, getting deadly weapons off the street, and restricting the flow of narcotics in Los Angeles neighborhoods. Christina Corona, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Now let's check in with NTD's Carlos Reyes for today's Sports Roundup.
This is your California Sports Roundup, and I'm Carlos Reyes. First up, Nikola Jokic's incredible postseason continued in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Denver's two-time MVP had 34 points, 21 rebounds, and 14 assists to lead the Nuggets past the Los Angeles Lakers in an 132-126 opener of the Western Conference title series on Tuesday night. Now, this was his 6th triple-double so far in these playoffs. Wilt Chamberlain has the record for a single postseason, and Jokic has now officially tied Magic Johnson and Draymond Green for second most on that list. All three of those players went to the NBA Finals that season, with Chamberlain and Johnson claiming a title. Jokic has been an absolute machine, recording 3 triple-doubles in a row. Again, one behind a record held by Chamberlain. He had 4 straight in that long-ago 1967 postseason. As for Green and Russell Westbrook, these guys are the only other players with 3 consecutive playoff triple-doubles. Jokic and the Nuggets will have an opportunity to expand their lead over LeBron and the Lakers tomorrow from the Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. Michael Conforto had 3 hits and an RBI, while teammate Lamonte Wade Jr. added 2 hits and an RBI of his own to lift host San Francisco past Philadelphia. Blake Sable contributed 2 hits, while Joey Bart hit an RBI double, and Thairo Estrada chipped in with an RBI single for the Giants. San Francisco starter Alex Cobb lasted only 3 innings and allowed 5 hits and 2 runs with a season-high 5 walks and 3 strikeouts. But to save the day, Tyler Rogers earned the win with a scoreless inning of relief. As for the Phillies, starter Zach Wheeler gave up 9 hits and 4 runs in 6 innings. JT Realmuto had 2 hits and 2 stolen bases but struck out to end the game. Teammate Cody Clemens added 2 hits for the Phillies, who have dropped 3 in a row. Giants 4, Phillies 3. The San Jose Earthquakes fell to the LA Galaxy 2-1 on Sunday evening at Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. Forward Usini Buda scored the lone goal for the Quakes, marking the first goal of his MLS career. Head coach Luchi Gonzalez had this to say about the Quakes' performance.
Yeah, I think our performance was not good. We know we can play better than that. Like you said, I mean, our quality in the attacking third, I thought we had more giveaways than we're used to. I think we're a team that's usually very dangerous, creating more XG in a game like this. And it comes down to connections and creation, quality and volume, putting balls in the box, running in the box. And we didn't do that well enough tonight.
After a scoreless first half, LA took a 1-0 lead with the goal from Martin Cáceres in the 60th minute. San Jose looked for the equalizer, but the Galaxy later doubled the score through Dejan Javeljic in second half stoppage time. The Quakes responded 3 minutes later through Usini Buda, but were unable to level the scoring in the final moments of the match. The Earthquakes will now return to San Jose to prepare for their second consecutive road match when they face LAFC on Saturday, May 20th. The match will kick off from BMO Stadium at 7:30 p.m.
That is it for today's Sports Roundup. Thank you for watching. I'm Carlos Reyes.
Thanks, Carlos, and that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.